Hello, hello. I have had this for a while now. Feels like it's been maybe 2 weeks and haven't had a chance to give it a proper look through. But we're doing it tonight. So I'm gonna take a look today with you with MJ Cullinan's The Raven Dream Tarot. Now I don't have all of her decks. Um, I think she's got one that's maybe like all cats and all maybe some other animal. I'm not sure. Those I don't have, but I do have her Crow Tarot and her Urban Crow Oracle. I use these all of the time. I also have her for Hoxa Tarot, which I use a lot. I really love that deck. And I also have her Guardians of the Night Tarot, which I use a lot as an animal oracle, but I do love that deck as well. But these two, as well as the Verhaxa, I use the Verhaxa together with Urban Crow as well. I use them a lot. So they are really well used decks for me, and they continue to be well used decks. The Crow Tarot was the first one that was sent to me actually in the indie form. I actually really love the US Games version of this, and it gets a ton of use. It's just, for me, there is, because I think of the collage art and just the crows just in here, and even though this is a very Rider-Waite-Smith style deck, it feels like a pip deck. The images don't really, they're just pretty. They're crows, which I love. The color palette goes with a lot of decks that I use. And so it just kind of reads like one big pip deck for me and just doesn't get in my way of reading. And again, goes with just a lot of decks that I use for ancestor readings, shamanic type readings. It just works really well for me. So it gets a lot of use. And I love this deck. I use this deck again for just the color palette goes with a lot of things that I use. I love the key. This is both the regular and the expanded. I have a card in here that I use. There isn't an ancestor card. That would make this deck perfect. But there is a community card. Of course, I probably already passed it. There is a community card. Here it is. This is my ancestor card. So I use this a lot where I do my listen and do ancestor readings. I'll shuffle, 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 shuffle. I'm not going to, I don't want to try to find it again. I'll shuffle, 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 find the ancestor card, lay the card on either side, and get the message to listen to. Use the Crow Tarot or the Forhaxa Tarot and get this is what you're supposed to be doing right now. And I get a lot of use out of the decks that I have of hers. They're not just a collection, they are well used decks. So when I saw the Raven's Dream Tarot, it was a no-brainer for me. I didn't really, oops, don't know why we're leaving that one out. Really was not even thinking about it. I knew I would pick it up. So I did. I think it was a pre-order that I purchased the pre-order. Um, so let's take a look at it together after that introduction that says I'm a big fan. Again, I don't have all of her decks, and that's just because certain themes aren't, ones that I am interested in. But of the ones that I have, I use them a lot. So that's why this was a no-brainer for me. I will say, now this is US Games. Let me grab my Forhaxa. The box has a sort of matte, I better zoom this out a little more than that until we're ready to flip through. The box has a more matte, a matte, not a more, it is a matte box, where this is more just like a regular standard box. And I think this was her latest one. I can't remember if there was one between these two that I didn't get, but I don't think so. I think this was probably her latest one. And has, just kind of her standard satin. Her cardstock sometimes I find to be a little slippy, but I don't mind it at all. It shuffles really well. Whereas the box has a matte feel. The book and the cards Did I shuffle these? No. Yeah, I have peeked at it, but I haven't walked through the whole thing. I started to look at them and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wait and do it together. I will say that it smells wretched. Whoa, I can smell that. We'll come back to the backs because I love the backs. But the deck has a great matte feel. It doesn't feel like it's going to be sticky, but it is most definitely matte. Like it has a really great feel. But still thin. So I'm really looking forward to trying this shuffle. I haven't seen this cardstock in any of her other decks, so she must have shifted to a new stock, but I quite love it. Again, haven't shuffled it yet, but I love what I feel. This back is gorgeous. I love this back. I think it is just fantastic. You've got the ravens, the kind of floral and the woods and kind of a springy vibe to it. But I think it's gorgeous. I really do love that backing. Again, love the feel of the cardstock. We'll come back to it. The back of the box says the Raven's Dream Tarot is where mysticism meets intuition, where shadows hold secrets, and where every card drawn is a step towards understanding your own story. I mean, I love that. Like that little write-up would have sold me by itself. Thank you for supporting the first printing of the Raven's Dream Tarot. So that is what we have here. And again, we have the box, first edition. I know there was a kerfuffle regarding, I think, her contract. I'm not going to speak to it because I don't know anything about it. I guess through maybe US Games because they did Crow Tarot. I'm not sure. But there was some sort of a kerfuffle there. I don't know how that has ended out. But so I'm not really going to speak on that. But I know she was able to at least finish this run of it. So I am glad I got a hold of it. Just because, again, I do find hers to be workhorse decks for me. Okay, so here we have her guidebook. It's more of a shiny gloss, shiny on the inside. I do really like her. If you've seen her other things, she does single card yes, no, and maybes, and she lists the yeses, she lists the nos, and she lists the maybes. I'm a playing card for yes and no questions, but I mean, she gives a very specific way to do it, which is pretty cool. Talks about reversals, questions. There's a question for each of the major arcana, and then she goes into the card. We will read here. Let's just go ahead and turn it over and read the first one, just so you can see. I don't really use her deck's guidebooks. There's nothing, no shade about them. It's just I tend to, like I said, her Crow Tarot for me is very Pip-like. I don't know. I've not necessarily felt the need to have to. Obviously, I do a little bit with the Urban Crow, but not much because they're kind of pretty obvious to me with her keywords and her images. Here we have the Fool. We have the number and the title, the Fool. Eventually, the raven succumbed to slumber, its belly fluttering with an unusual sensation akin to a swarm of butterflies taking flight. As it drifted deeper into sleep, a dream emerged from the shadows. The raven found itself observing a lively fox in pursuit of a flock of swallows. Oblivious, it had strayed onto the peak, I would assume she meant here, and into the gaze of a raven. But even if it had known, the fox would have remained unperturbed. Nearby, a dog was barking, so it's really describing the scene, but the fox disregarded the noise, continuing its joyous frolic, seemingly uncaring that nestled just beneath lay a brood of famished fledglings down here. Kind of like the alligator that you see in the Thoth Tarot Fool. In this unencumbered creature, the raven recognized an audacious spirit and felt its radiating energy permeate its dream. Upon awakening, the raven felt a notable shift. The peculiar sensation of internal butterflies had vanished, replaced by the invigorating energy of the fox. It was as if this fearless creature's spirit was beckoning the raven onward, inspired towards its next exciting escapade. I can't talk tonight, apparently. New beginnings. The Fool indicates you are on the precipice of a new journey, stepping into the unknown. This card may appear when you are ready for a fresh start or a new phase of life. Innocence and spontaneity. The energy of the Fool carries with it a childlike wonder and curiosity that may suggest your situation may benefit from approaching life with a beginner's mind. This energy is about spontaneous. Oh my goodness, spontaneous. Oh, this energy is about spontaneous actions and decision making without overthinking. Fearlessness and faith. The Fool does not shrink away from the unknown. Trust in the universe, the future, and your intuition. A leap of faith may be required. Free. So this is interesting. Let me just see what it's doing here. So it's giving us, let me grab a random highlighter. I don't know if it will stick on this glossy paper. It's giving us an understanding of the cards, right? What we're seeing on the card, because apparently this is going to give, these are dreams that the Raven's having. So I quite like that. Then it has this New Beginnings, which talks about sort of the basic understanding of the Fool card. It gives us some more about innocence and spontaneity, fearlessness and faith. So different ways that you might interpret free-spirited and adventurous, potential and possibility. So these are all aspects of the Fool. And then a little bit about how you would read it that way. So let's say, looking at the Magician, those aren't going to be the same ones. We have manifestation. How is the Magician about manifestation? Willpower and initiative. How the Magician is about that, and power and influence. So it's kind of looking at the cards. Oh, I'm sorry, you couldn't see what I was doing, but it's kind of giving the card, or really kind of picking up the energy of the cards and seeing the different ways that they're often seen and why, or how you would interpret from that lens. So I quite like that. Again, I just want to see, just for our understanding, when we look at the Magician, besieged by an unresolved issue, the Raven finally surrendered to the encroaching night, seeking solace in sleep. In its nest, the bird restlessly stirred until suddenly it found itself in an unexpected dreamscape, trapped within the cavernous belly of a whale. So it's inside the belly of a whale. As the first flicker of panic ignited, the Raven mustered the courage to quell its rising fear and channel its focus towards finding a way out. In the vast expanse of the whale's mouth, it discovered a few useful items: a sturdy stick, a container filled with flammable liquid, and the necessary materials to create a spark. With an unwavering mindset, the Raven worked, concentrating all its energy on the singular goal of freedom. Of course, we also have, I do remember when I saw this, I was like, why is there, like in the Magician, why is there a dead octopus and a fish? Before I had really looked at everything, I was just kind of peeking at it. So it's the Magician is actively working to produce the outcome that he is trying to produce. So it appears that so each one, like, following a day with stress, the Raven slipped into the realms of dream. After a lovely day of feasting and basking in the sun, the Raven mused on humans' ironic label, blah, 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 as it surrendered into gentle slumber, and so on and so forth. So it goes into a dream. Now, let me just see. Yeah, all of them, even the minor arcana, are all just, these are literally the Raven's dreams. So so each one of the guidebook references speak to a specific dream that the Raven had. So the Raven had. So it has sort of a feel of like we're seeing sort of a shamanic dream journey, and we can tell from the Fool, when the guidebook was discussing the dream, that he came out of the dream sort of having that energy and embodying that energy of the fox as he woke up. So he took something away from the dream, and it energetically changed him him and had something to offer to him in his waking life. So very much feels like journey work, right? What I would call journey work, which I often do in Dreamscape. So this makes a lot of sense to me and is very powerful. So yeah, so that's so, and I will say also that the cards that I can all, I haven't read through the whole thing, but just skipping your way through, it appears as if she describes what you're seeing in the green dreamscape. Now, if you've never again worked with any of her decks, she tends to have this kind of collage style of artwork, sometimes more collagey than others. For example, I feel like the Urban Crow is a little bit more scenic. Like there's generally a scene that's going on. But the style of art definitely leans towards collage. And I will say this one, you can definitely see that, which makes sense, right, in a dreamscape. Um, you generally come out of, well, I track my dreams, and so when you go to write your dreams when you wake up, it kind of feels like this, right? Like you see this and I see this, and I have a flash of this, a flash of that, a flash of that. It's kind of a scattering of smaller pictures that make up, then we kind of try to pull, okay, what was happening here all together. So in this sense, I think it really works for this style of art, because it feels like those scattered flashed images that we have when coming out of a dream. Okay, so enough of that. Here we have the Fool. We can see the touch into the traditional Fool, even while there's a lot of things going on that you wouldn't see, right? With the fox and kind of being distracted by the birds and running out, the dog friend, warning him to be a little bit careful. Very typical Fool, but then all of this other stuff. And again, even this, that idea that there could be something harmful lurking and you're just, blasely going about the business, can be an indication. It can definitely be an indication of traditional Fool energy, but there's definitely more going on. Again, not a traditional magician. You of course see the basic tools of the magician, but we've got an actual dream sequence where he's stuck in a whale and is lighting that smoke, as we know in stories, to make the whale open up its mouth. So that's not something you traditionally see with the magician, but it also has traditional elements of the magician. Here we have the beautiful High Priestess. Oh, I love this card. The gaze of an entrancing and enigmatic creature that bore an uncanny familiarity, as if their paths had intertwined in a past life. Deep within her eyes, the raven discerned the secrets of the cosmos, solutions to the quandaries that had beleaguered its waking hours. When it comes back, so this is no mere dream, it realized, but a gateway to an underlying connection. I really love the language and the story behind it, because it really does feel very similar to how I see things working in dreams in terms of journey space, past life memories and connections, gateways to bigger understanding. So it really does feel quite powerful in that sense, and very connective to the way that I see and utilize dreams. So obviously that's going to make it very powerful for me, where it may, to somebody else that doesn't, it may not be as much. But for me, that adds a really powerful layer that I'm looking forward to actually working with more. Here we have the beautiful Empress. Again, you can see the meadowy that we normally see, but this is so interesting, right? With all of these, like all of these little birds piercing the shell. So we have this like tremendous amount of creative power and energy versus just a single, crow hatching from an egg. Here we have the Emperor. I really love this. Again, I'm not going to read through all of the dreams because I'll be here forever. I am definitely going to sit down and read through the book myself. But this is, I really just, you know, it hits me just overall because you kind of have this sense of the Emperor or doing like a flyby over his kingdom and trying to just make sure everything is as it should be and as it needs to be. And again, um, I'm sure there's a whole nother layer to it with the dream quality, but even on its own, right? Without, and that's what a thing, like I do like decks that have like a theme and have like a deeper layer to it. But I do think that a tarot deck should be able to be at least recognizable. Like we should know what we're looking at and find some way of connecting to it. And I do feel like we can see all of that. Like this looks like an Empress card, right? Without any other dream parts, that looks like an Empress. This looks, or I'm sorry, this looks like a High Priestess. This looks like an Empress. This has a very Emperor. I actually really like this Emperor. Maybe one of my favorite Emperor cards. That feels like an Emperor card, right? So even though there is more that's going on that we can look at the dream, it's very just by itself. I love that you can recognize the energy here. Here we have the teacher here. This is very powerful, right? Here is a wolf pack and sort of the older wolf maybe that is teaching the other wolves. That's quite beautiful with the Hierophant. Here we have the Lovers card, two things coming together, kind of a spirit energy behind it. I do like number three. We have that sort of understanding of the conscious self, the unconscious self, and the higher self all coming together to make a powerful decision. So I do like those kind of touch-ins. But again, very recognizable as a Rider-Waite-Smith Lovers card as well. I think that's going to kind of be the overriding theme. Again, her decks for me have a pip-like feel to them, where you can see what the card is, you understand what it's touching back into, but it also doesn't tend to get in the way of my reading. Now, this is much more scenic, so that, you know, this may be a little, maybe for me, different than the Crow Tarot, which I appreciate, right? I don't just need another rendering of the Crow Tarot, and I have to say, this does not at all feel like I've used this deck forever and ever, and it does not at all have the same energy. Even though there's ravens and crows, they really don't feel like the same deck whatsoever, which is good because I don't need, you know, a duplicate or just like a little offshoot of the same deck, and this doesn't feel like it. Again, love the Chariot, love the power of this bird, right, steering the energy of a bull whose horns are on fire. Like that makes me definitely want to look at the dream that this is behind. But beautiful, gorgeous. Like look at that strength card. Like that is really beautiful. That's really beautiful. I feel like that this collage of hers, like again, some of hers are more scene, like landscapey, like the Urban Crow. Certainly for Hoxa is more scenic, but also doesn't feel quite as collage. It feels like the most collagey, and it feels like it would also then be the, and because maybe it's a dreamscape as well, I feel like it will also have quite a lot of almost feels like this will be a scrying type deck where you could really have a particular piece pop out and really highlighted when you go to pick the card. That's gorgeous, strength card. I mean, look at the Hermit. What in the heck? What has he got? Look at his white feathers there. Like makes him almost look like he has a beard. He is so cute. That is gorgeous. The, again, collaging in of like a forest, and we're up in a cave system. As twilight melted, the raven dreamed of being guided towards a faint light glimmering. The light source of the raven works as the dream's imprint lingered. I love that. Again, he's taking into real life the dreams, but yeah, I love this. Look at that. That's a very different image here, because we don't have like a main prominent crow. We do have obviously crows here, but we have this huge feeling of the hair here. Let's take a look at that. As sleep enveloped it, the raven began to dream. It stood at the edge of a surreal landscape where a giant white rabbit, as luminous as moonlight, was at the center of the activity. With the wheel in front of it, the rabbit's soft paws manipulated the circular mechanism. Each wheel rotation initiated the delicate ballet of life, where seeds gently fell onto fertile ground. With the touch of the rabbit's paw, the seeds sprouted and matured through various stages, eventually transforming into bountiful fruits. The fruits then decayed, giving way to new seeds, symbolizing the cyclical dance. This is really wonderful. He's seeing the whole turning of the wheel of the seasons and the year in the midst of this dream. I love it. Love it. Here we have justice. I love that there's a bat here. I like bats actually in justice cards. I know they sometimes show up in hangmans, but I don't know. There's something powerful about the clarity of bat. Again, I want to read all of these, but I'm not going to. But again, I can see justice with this. Here we have the hanged man. Very interesting in that it's a snake that is wrapped up and he's hanging from the tree, entwined, not in a rope, but in a snake. But again, you can look at this and you can see the hanged man without getting any further depth of the snake and what the snake might mean. The layer that the snake, because snake is about transformation for me. And so, but what you can see here, like at the end, when the raven woke up, it was with a renewed sense of understanding. It had gleaned a fresh perspective from its dream. So from the dream itself is where the energy of the card is residing. Yes, we're seeing it in the image, but the key is that you're, having a journey sleep and you're coming back, bringing back the understanding of the archetype of each one of the cards. So that's really powerful. I know I'm repeating myself. I'll try to go faster here. Here we have the death card. Again, really beautiful. I like that we can see the bones here. I like the white crow that's flying up. It's in its beak is a skeleton. It's very powerful as a death card. Temperance, again, beautiful, love it, very recognizable as of the flowing and the mixing, but this is now mixing with the two crows here, the two ravens. Now this is the first, I say that. I mean, you see like a bear kind, no, it looks like a tree stump. Yeah, so this is the first human interjection into the deck. I don't know if you call that human, but a cage, a human cage, and it's in the devil card. So we're definitely setting up human intervention as being negative, which is probably a lesson they need to learn to be safe. I did still like this, how at the end, I haven't read the whole thing, but the devil never once locked the cage, but still the raven was his. That abdication of power. And look, the door is open. That's pretty awesome. I do love that. Love this tower card. Like this forest fire, the wolf, like just the image. Like this is so beautiful. I mean, obviously devastating, but beautifully done. Here we have the star card, absolutely gorgeous. I don't, it's kind of hard to say. You can see the cards in them. There's a lot of extra information that you can pull from should you wish to. And they're beautifully rendered. Sometimes something is it's just good. So you could just kind of repeat over and over. This is a very powerful moon with a skeleton here. Let's see what that says. In the grip of an unsettling dream, the raven stood amidst the shallow, cloudy waters of a forgotten lake. Its beak was caught firmly in its grip of a defiant crawfish. What? Oh, here. The crawfish actually has his beak, stubbornly refusing to release its hold. The moon's pale light reflects on the water, casting ghostly images that appeared like skeletal remains. Go on, go on, go on. The dream was a metaphorical journey, reminding it of the constant struggle between the light and the darkness within oneself. It served as a reminder that while it's easy to be swayed by one's worst tendencies, true power lies in acknowledging these shadows and choosing the path of resilience, hope, and courage. That's beautifully written. I'm really excited to, again, because it's written in this dream form. I'm excited to see what they're about or to read them all. Here we have the sun. Is that a bunch of like sheep? No, there's flames in there. The sheep is just on the outside. I'm like, is that like a bunch of fiery sheep? I have a very desert power of the sun there as well. It's like it seems like a coyote style story, you know, the raven who caught the sun, you know, those type of stories. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm saying that's what it looks like, and I love it. And then here we have Judgment, really gorgeous. I like the hummingbirds here. I like the little skeletal birds here. It just works as a Judgment card. And then we have the Powerful World card. Very beautiful. I wonder if the stag will hark it all back to, I do like that when that happens sometimes. I don't want to give away all the dreams so that you can read them all, but I wonder if it will hark it all back to this stag here when you read the messages. But there we have the world card. I mean, it's gorgeous. The majors are beautiful. You can see that there's like this, I don't know if all of them are like this, and some are more prominent than others, but see how they have this like blue haze around the edge. So it's like there is a border, but it's just like a hazy, you're in the midst of a dream. Let's see if that, yeah, it looks like that. You can see that when you go like this to the edges. It's like you're in the hazy aspects of a dream. So again, that's a touch that I really quite love as well. Okay, this is the next morning because I felt like I wasn't talking very well. Am I going to redo all of the majors? No, I loved looking at the majors, so we're just going to keep moving through and I'll go a little quicker on the minors. But I did want to state that when we move into the minors, we still have the dream. I will say the dreams are a little shorter, so you don't have as long of a dream. So we have, this one's got 2 paragraphs, but we still have that new beginnings and potential, inspiration and in creativity, enthusiasm and energy, growth and personal development, boldness and initiative. That I'm guessing these keywords are coming from the numbers as well as the suit that it's in. Um, so that's very possible. But we still have that across all of them. So for example, the 2 of Wands has planning and future ambitions, progress, discovery, decision making, personal power, and somehow you might read this card in light of that connection. So I really like that. I'll have to go back and look at her other guidebooks. Maybe that's typical of her guidebooks and I just haven't used them enough before. But regardless of whether that's the truth or not, I quite like that. But again, you do still like the 2 of Wands. You have a dream that's really about a paragraph. You've got a nice chunk here. So they seem maybe a little bit smaller than the majors, which is pretty normal, but it's still a dream. Immersed in the realms of dream, the raven imagines itself nestled at the base of an immense cavern. When it's talking about the 3 of Wands, it's still describing what it is that we're seeing in that dream in this card. So it's just going to be so interesting to me to see whether or not, like, I do a lot of, again, past life work that has to do with sort of visions and dreams and recalls. I also do a lot of journey work through dreams. have a lot of messages my whole life that comes through dreams. So I'm wondering if this deck might be really another, again, dreamscape is liminal space. So I really think that this might end up being another one to add to my small number of decks that I use in past life work, journey work, dream, kind of doing, I like to do like dream interpretation readings. And so I'm wondering if this might be very interesting to use in that space. And again, because the scenes are dream scenes, I feel like it's almost, there's going to be a lot of bit of scrying that can take place in the cards where something in particular like pops out to pay attention to. So that's kind of what I'm feeling at the end of, looking over the guidebook and going through the majors. So again, I will try not to say that every single card and speed up this part, but that's kind of where I am feeling right now. So there's our Ace of Wands. I'm going to keep this out so we can look at the other aces, see if they tie together at all. Here we have the Two of Wands, very powerful. We have two almost like matches, but they're plants kind of energies there. With the Two of Wands, we have the Three of Wands. This is kind of interesting because I will say that most of her decks, if not all of her decks, are Rider-Waite-Smith based. Whereas this, doesn't have that typical waiting for the ship to come home. Focusing more on, being prepared. Unexplored lands. There is shimmering seas. More of a promise of things to come than just sitting there and waiting for your ships to come in. So that's interesting to me. I like that she's gone a little bit left of center there. Here we have the Four of Wands. Four for me are always about stability. This feels very stable, taking that moment. Again, on this one, I do think you can see the nod to the Rider-Waite-Smith, but it's not like you don't have to go there. This is beautiful with the Five of Wands and the shakeup and the competition with the lobster. Or the crab, sorry. Here we have the Six of Wands. You've got that little laurel wreath. Again, has the energy and the feel of the Six of Wands. We do have six sunflowers. Here we do have five ravens. We do have the 1, 2, 3, 4 pillars there. We have 3 sheep here, and also 3 cacti and 3 of these plants. And we have the 2 fiery things, so kind of pippish. Again, hers tend to work that way for me. I know I've said that too many times. Here we have the Seven of Wands, standing the ground, the finding your foundation with the growth for me, which always works fine with the Seven of Wands. The Eight of Wands definitely has that fast movement of the Rider-Waite-Smith, which is not, for me, it's very focused energy, but the way that these are, especially these what are these, like starlings, or let's see if she says here. I don't think I'm saying, I know what it is in my head, but we've got falcons. Oh, 8 falcons. No, yeah, I was definitely wrong. But that kind of dive bombing is like focusing in and honing in and mastering. They are like the masters of flight. That works really well for me. So I quite like that. 8 for me is mastery. Here we have the Nine of Wands here, the kind of having to hold up out a little bit longer here that you see. But again, nines are powerful. Nines are high energy. They can be overwhelming as well as so much potential. So we see a lot of potential, but we also can see that really having to pay attention and be on guard, and there's a lot of energy at play. So it really works well for me also. Here we have the Ten of Wands. That has caught a giant octopus. Let's just see what they're saying here. The raven envisioned a lustrous net submerged in water, seemingly brimming with fish. With a vision of a grand feast lasting for days, it dove down to haul the net to shore. But then it twisted, and then it kind of turned into this giant whale. You have an enormous creature trying to pull. So it's the weight. Like there is the abundance there, but then also that with that abundance comes the weight. Here we have the Page of Wands. Look at the little bitty raven there. Here we have the Knight of Wands. So definitely cats. And then swan. So definitely not. I was thinking maybe it was going to go like all big cats. Love the big, love the Knight of Wands, Page of Wands, Queen of Wands, very powerful and fiery. And I like the cauldron here. And the swan, which is very transformative in myths and legends. And then look at the king with the fire plants and the honey and the bear. You would think pentacly, right? I would think bears pentacly, although I really go to water with pentacles or water with bears, but that's just my own personal bear. Let me go to the king. The raven dreamt of an encounter between two unlikely conversationalists, another raven appearing every bit the part of a king, and a bear of considerable stature. Oh, so the raven himself is the king. There we go. And it's being diplomatic and having that conversation about the honey, I suppose. That makes more sense with the raven than the bear for the king, but I love the image. Love it. And I like this sort of how is the king then out and interacting with the world to keep things safe. Look at that. Okay, so we have the raven's claw instead of the hands that we typically see in R.W. Smith. I really like that, and I love the lotuses there. Again, I'm trying to not take forever. You know, there's a dream involved. You know how I feel like you can see the Rider-Waite-Smith, but at the same time, you're really not bound by that. And that is a huge plus for me. So 2 of Cups, 3 of Cups, the camaraderie here, the 4 of Cups. This is an interesting image. I quite like this because for me, the 4 of Cups is a stability of the emotional landscape. And I really like this. I know that what the Rider-Waite-Smith means for the 4 of Cups. And I know this can often be, you know, boredom and these types of things. But I actually really think this is beautiful and feels very stable and serene. And being able to take this time to look inward, I think that works really beautifully. Here we have the 5 of Cups, the loss, but also what do you have? The beautiful 6 of Cups. Yeah, it's just gorgeous. I love the light bulbs. I love the light bulbs or the almost like the light bulb handles, but I like whatever this is. It looks like the end of the crystals of a, you know how when you pull the light bulb to turn it on? 7 shining crystals suspended in the starry canvas of the night sky. And each one of them has the different things there, making sure, obviously, that you don't, that you choose the dream and not the illusion for me. So again, stabilize your dreams before you go for it and not get distracted. Here we have the 8 of Cups with all of the cows. Let's read this one because this is interesting. Like this is kind of the dream card, right? It's often like going into the journey and it has a very generally a dream feel. In its slumber, the raven found itself perched upon the bare spine of a cow, sun-bleached to immaculate purity. Although beautiful and peaceful, the situation stirred the raven with a lingering discontent. Its gaze wandered across the barren expanse of the desert, eventually landing on a lush meadow teeming with life. This verdant sight sparked a realization within the raven. It was indeed time for transformation. It's time for the next trip and the next journey. 9 of Cups is interesting with the peacock tail that is kind of turning into a peacock here. Which is so interesting. This is often the wish fulfillment for the 9 of Hearts, and sort of that abundance here. But it is, in its dream, its tail began to transform, blooming into the glorious flowing plumage, characteristics of a peacock. The dream he always had. And then here we have the Ten of Cups. Interesting with the wolves. Majestic companions, perfectly aligned in symmetry. Their beaks interlocked to form a sturdy bridge. Right here, see this, the ravens creating, almost has a world tree feel here, giving the woodland creatures safe passage. Roots begin to from the colossal communal tree. The cyclical exchange kept the tree vibrant and lush. This is beautiful, making it into like a sanctuary. I really like that. Again, we have the rainbow that we often see in the Rider-Waite-Smith Ten of Cups, but I think this is, again, quite a beautiful rendition. Here we have the adorable Page of Cups, the Knight of Cups active here, the, oh, so sweet Queen of Cups, and the King of Cups, again, very actively engaged in its in the outer world, in this case, holding back the waves here. Beautiful. Here we have the ace. I love the aces. Here we have the Ace of Swords, owls, transformation with the dragonfly of wisdom, with the owls. Here we have our Two of Swords. Oh, it's a snake. I wasn't sure quite what we were looking at. Look at the snake. This is very interesting for a two. Let's see what it says. Very interesting. In its dream, the raven found itself in the grip of a snake's mouth, a predator ready to seal its fate swiftly. Nevertheless, the raven mustered the strength to fend off the fangs. Hovering above the raven, a cage materialized. The raven watched as its heart separated from its body, securing itself within the cage, as if placed under some divine protection. Then an influx of petite white moths descended upon the raven's head, their delicate wings obscuring its view of the snake, which instilled an uncertainty about its subsequent actions. However, the raven perceived that maintaining its position could at least evade the impending threat of being consumed. Interesting. Like, that's one to really sit with, right? I like the cactus here. It feels like okay, which way are we going to go here? And he's choosing, really, instead to act, to to really bring his head and his heart together and just pause, and wait and see how to best get out of the situation. So there's definitely a blockage here, and it's like a paused moment. For me, when he brings his head and his heart together, he's going to know how to act to get himself out. Very, very interesting. Ooh, that's a Three of Swords. So again, you know how I feel about the Three of Swords and Rider-Waite-Smith. But it is really about all of the things that we can learn from the challenges that we face. I do think that it is also to not just challenges, but also, all experiences. But it is about learning from our experiences and from the um, again, from the working through the challenges. So it's not for me about heartbreak. It's more, again, the swords are connected with spades. Spades are about our challenges. Three is about growth. So growth from those challenges, learning from working our way through those challenges. This is a particularly, obviously, brutal scene with this poor raven on a pitchfork. Let's just read the roused from an intensely vivid dream, the raven was left trembling. She pondered whether the dream held prophetic implications. It had felt so undeniably real. She reflected on the chilling scenario. Despite being keenly aware, the raven could feel the piercing prongs of a pitchfork impaling her body. So this is so interesting because, this is set in those types of dreams that you have that do feel so real and can be extremely uncomfortable. I certainly have dreams like that where, I'm kind of living through something that's really terrible or painful, and it feels so incredibly real. But because I do lucid dream, being lucid and dreaming enough to know that this is a dream. So I like this for this type of Three of Swords. I like because the premise here is this kind of dream scenario that you're learning from. her heart throbbing with raw torment of the inflicted wound. Oh my goodness, amid her agony, she perceived a familiar pull, only to witness her mate, her life companion, feasting on her flesh. My goodness. Beneath her, she noticed her sister indulging in her spilled life essence. The scene was confounding paradox. Where was the funeral rite? Why were they reveling in this grim demise rather than mourning it? So that is very difficult, right? So this would be, again, one of those cards that it is difficult to utilize for those of us. I'll be interested now to see what the Ten of Swords is, and we might as well just take a peek at it. But this is actually easier for me because we're really in the world of the dreams, and we can talk about, when this comes up in a reading, how we can have these dreams that don't make a lot of sense. So here we have a bunch of wasps who have killed. That one to me is even harder to deal with in terms of interpretation, because here you can have a prophetic dream that it can be very intense, can be very bloody, but there are significant understandings that we can learn from these very intense dreams that are so strange. We've got scorpions coming here, and yet there's a message that's supposed to come through. There's a lesson supposed to come through from this dream, and we have to kind of see past that. So I can actually work with this better, right, being focusing this all as sort of in the dream space, and how can we puzzle out and figure out the lesson in the uncomfortable spaces of the dream world, which there are many. So this is to me easier to work with in this type of deck. If it was a straight deck, this would be a really hard one for me to utilize with clients, because it certainly isn't the type how I would read the Three of Swords minus that dreamscape. Ten of Swords, we have, again, the culmination of the suit of the mind. And here we have the Ten of Swords, where we have all of these wasps that have killed this raven. I think this is interesting more on the aspect of seeing the 10 wasps than the raven, right? So the wasps have benefited from all of the knowledge that has been accumulated, and that knowledge, that energy is kind of transforming and moving forward in a different way. So I can get there. I would probably not use this deck for a straight just tarot reading because of these cards. But in terms of liminal space readings, I actually think I could utilize those. And it's just, this is me, right? If you're a Rider-Waite-Smith person, I think this is still going to be difficult for some people. But you know, if you're then you don't have an issue with these cards. And I never expect, I know that MJ Cullinane's decks are Rider-Waite-Smith based, so when I purchased this deck, I had not seen these cards, but I was aware certainly that that was is always a risk for me, just because of my interpretation ways. And it's up to no creator to make a deck that works great for me. And so I'm just saying this as other people who watch my channel that might read similar to me, how I would approach these. And I find them, again, easier to approach in this dreamscape, and how I would use them, because there are really uncomfortable dreams that we are faced with dealing with. And we can either just kind of get trapped in that space, or we can find a way to step back and figure out what is the message that's coming through there. What can we learn from this very weird and uncomfortable dream that works, I think, well here. So that's that. You all know me well enough to know. Okay, now I've kind of mixed things up. One second. Okay. Oh, here we go. Well, we're just kind of skipped forward to the tens, but let's still look at the four. Here, beautiful Four of Swords. Absolutely love that. Love that with the fireflies. Here we have the Five of Swords. Very powerful. Again, a shakeup. Definitely can be a disruption with the five. Definitely a, you know, uncomfortable energy of the five here. Winning at what cost? These types of questions that come out with the Five of Swords. Very powerful image. Here we have the Six of Swords, really beautiful. We can see the reminiscence of the Rider-Waite-Smith Six of Swords, which I actually love that in the Rider-Waite-Smith, as well as the Five of Pentacles is one of my favorite. Those two are, and the Eight of Swords and the Two of Swords. Those are kind of favorites of mine. But this is absolutely beautiful. Here we have the Seven of Swords. We don't know exactly what's going on. I like when there's stuff going on beneath the surface. That's my favorite Seven of Swords. That works really well for me, and I quite love that. Here we have the Eight of Swords. That's powerful. Trapped, but not trapped. Like, he can still get out of this. If he's quick on his feet, he is going to, you know, get out of the situation. He's not dead. He is able to use his senses and get out, but that is powerful. Eight of Swords. Love it. Nine of Swords. Very interesting here. Because if you think about the Nine of Swords, typically in RWS is seen as sort of a nightmare card. And again, Nine of Swords can be super overwhelming, and it can make bad things seem worse than they are, but it can also have opportunity for mental growth that is just powerful. So this is actually quite beautiful. Quite like that. Page of Swords. A lot going on there with that Page of Swords. Love the Knight of Swords. The Knights have felt very active. Queen of Swords. Powerful. And the King of Swords. Very interesting. All of like time management, it feels like. It feels very King of Swordsy. I'll take it. So yeah, those definitely the three especially is a difficult one, and it would preclude me from using it just in a straight reading for clients, a straight tarot reading. But in terms of a past life readings, dream readings, dream interpretation readings, journey type work, 100% would be able to work with that. It's just more in a straight reading that would get in my way. So then we have our Ace of Pentacles. Again, I really like, I know this is atypical, right, when we have the hand, but I do like these Raven Claws, which is this very powerful magically, and just visually, they're gorgeous. I love the aces. Okay. Here we have our Two of Pentacles. Again, we can see this reminiscent of RWS, but I love the balance here. Here we have the Three of Pentacles, the growth, learning lessons here from the woodpecker. Here we have Four of Pentacles. For me, this is stable resources, which we can certainly see here. He has to fend him off a little bit, but he's still stable. Five of Pentacles, there's a shakeup in the resources, which we can certainly see here. We have the Six of Pentacles, that balance, sort of circle of life feel, that makes sense with the Six of Pentacles. The Seven of Pentacles is interesting with the fish cages. The Seven of Pentacles often has like gardening, and you need to have your patience and that kind of stuff. So here, obviously, you've set your things, and now you just have to have patience for those resources to come in. So that works. Here we have the Eight of Pentacles, perfect mastery of fish catching. I would say, truthfully, so far, this is probably my least favorite. Let's read the dream. I don't like the wig. Like, I thought it was kind of cool to have the raven tail, like, turning into the peacock tail, and you definitely see, you know, human things being used, buckets and spears, and you can certainly see those things in, you know, lanterns. So it's not like there's absolutely no human stuff in here, but just the wig is a little bit much for me, even though it does, you know, it does reminisce, is reminiscent of the traditional Nine of Pentacles, but not my absolute favorites. But let's see. The dream's probably going to redeem it for me. During one slumber, the raven found itself immersed in a fantastical dream featuring an elegant peacock that had befriended a raven, providing it with a cozy nesting spot within an ornate wig. They would whittle away their afternoons strolling through an expansive garden, basking in the enchanted scenery that enveloped them. While the sophisticated peacock was entirely self-reliant, she occasionally beckoned the raven to pluck an apple from a nearby tree when hunger pangs hit. Confident in their bond, she knew the raven would select the most succulent fruit and swiftly return. So again, it has that, the bird of prey here is the raven, and we have the peacock here who has all of the resources to be able to spend their days the way that they want, focusing on what is interesting and important to them. So it definitely works. It's just I don't particularly love the wig on the peacock. That's just me. Love the Ten of Pentacles here. Absolutely gorgeous. All of those seeds and resources and mushrooms, and absolutely love that. Recycle life, kind of that legacy effect of moving on. Here we have the Page of Pentacles, the beautiful Knight of Pentacles, the Queen of Pentacles with all the abundance, and again the King of Pentacles surveying his lands. So yeah, love it. I mean, I think that it is what I would have expected, in the sense that I like her decks. Like, they just tend to work for me. Rider-Waite-Smith base, which I again knew and expected. I definitely feel like of all of her decks that I utilized, the 3 and 10 of swords are definitely ones I have to work through. And again, if I was just using it for straight tarot readings, this is not the one that I would choose. Let me just, for comparison, out of curiosity, oh, I think I put it away last night, the Crow Tarot one. I don't, like I said, I don't even hardly look at the images on the Crow Tarot. For me, it's just a straight pip deck. But for liminal space, and for working with past lives and dream work and journey work and that type of energy, I think this is amazing, and something I would utilize. And I'm very much looking forward to, paying attention, or even just picking one, like, because I do like to use her decks in conjunction. So like this would be a great one to pick. Read the dream, like what is the dream sequence, what's happening in the dream, sort of get that message, and then pull like an actionable. There, I can definitely see ways that I could even use this with a listen, in the listen realm of my ancestor readings, hear sort of the messages in these deeper dreams. And now the more active, do this with the Crow Tarot would work as well. Like, I can definitely see ways in which I would utilize this. I don't think I would personally, again, as I've just described, I have decks that do, I try to use certain decks that just do what I need it to do. So I don't see myself doing this like in a general tarot, like I'm setting out here. Again, just wouldn't, this is not what I would pull for that. But if it was, in certain circumstances, if I was using a general tarot to really go into a liminal space focus, then maybe I would, but I'll just do it so you can see the cards all out. I would definitely say these are more collagey and slightly busier. I don't know. All of her decks are slightly busy because they are, but this, I will say, this does seem heavier collage or busier in a way. But it really works with the dreamscape for me. That might be an issue, but for me, it really works with the dreamscape because, again, I don't think I would be doing a reading like this per se with it. But if I was, I'd really be taking each thing and going into that dream space and allowing for, are the fireflies really popping up? Are the, is the peacock herself and her eyes and what her gaze is on really popping up? Is the mushroom or the seeds popping up here? What pieces are really popping in a particular reading as more of a scrying? I can definitely see where utilizing this for path working, especially liminal space path working, would be really powerful, right? Because you could read about the dream that it represents, really enter into that dream to look around and see what else that you might be able to learn about what you should be paying attention to. That could be really interesting as well. So I really see a space for this, but for me, it would be in a liminal space work, which is a lot of what I do. So I'm excited about this. I'm definitely glad that I bought it. In terms of edging, like, my thought would be to go black, but because of this, like, it almost is like, I don't know, like maybe going more of like this hazy, that's almost too light blue, but even maybe this turquoise color. I don't think I don't, definitely not a straight blue. I'd have to probably take this to Michael's where there's open, yeah, maybe even like that. Oh yeah, I think that one, this is, who know, okay, it's $3.79. Of course, you won't know until you mark on the card itself, which I am not going to do at the moment. Because I'll look through some things, but let me just get a piece of paper. Because it's not going to necessarily look the same on a piece of paper as it will here, but this is actually might be a good match. You don't see that, you have hazy here. You don't really see it on the back. I wish some of this color was more on the back. So, because that's where mine would be. I'd be, like from this perspective, I think like this type of color would go really well. But from this perspective, I could see more of a mossy green or, a foggy kind of green. And so that makes it, look at that. Yeah. And I love both sides, but that makes it difficult in terms of edging. So I'm not gonna rush to that, and we'll sit with it. And or I may fall back to my typical matte gold that that's just kind of my neutral to go to, which would be fine on this side, but I wouldn't love it as much on this side. So I don't know. Since I don't know, that means I shan't be touching it with any markers. Okay, I hope that you have enjoyed this peek at this. Again, I do not know. You'll have to go. I'll try to link her website below. I don't know if if there's leftovers. I don't know if there's going to be another printing or not. Again, I know there was some type of kerfuffle in terms of not copyright, but just making sure that it was in alignment with her I don't know, printing agreement, deck creating agreement. So I know there was something going on there. So I don't actually know. I'll try to put a link to see. Most of the time, if there's extras, those will be being sold on her website. But whether or not there's going to be another print run or not, I don't know. You'll have to contact the creator themselves. Just contact people, and I'm sure that she'll be able to let you know whether this is something that will be going through a second printing or end up maybe mass market or something like that. Because she does have, like, the Crow Tarot is now mass market. The not the Frahaxa, but the Urban Crow Oracle is mass market that has an expansion in it as well. So it could be something that ends up going mass market also. But I have to say, I quite love this cardstock. It shuffles. You can definitely feel. I know I was shuffling it. I didn't say anything, but you can definitely, it's kind of, you can feel a little grip. It's definitely not, it's got slight grippiness, but it's really great feeling, and it bends really good. I'm quite a fan. Like I said, her normal cardstock is really great to shuffle, but it does like slide a lot. It's probably her decks are the ones I end up with them on the floor the most because they'll just slip, where you don't have that with this. So I actually quite love this move to this cardstock. So there you have it. Taking a look at the Ravens Dreams Tarot. I hope you have enjoyed it and wish you a wonderful rest of the day, whatever it is for you.